As a trans girl, I have found that dating can be difficult. So, to all of you straight guys out there, here are a few things that you should know. You don't have to be afraid to make physical contact with trans girls. We like hugs too, and we don't have cooties, okay? Oftentimes, boys will hug my friends and then they'll kind of just skip over me, and I'm like, why are you doing that? I'm a girl too, and just treat me normally. Trans girls are here. We exist. So you don't have to ignore us as friends or as girlfriends. Sometimes guys ignore me and it makes me feel like I'm different, but really I'm just like any other girl. It's totally acceptable to ask questions. Just make sure that they are well thought out and that they come from a place of love. However, if you think you could just Google it, then do so. It shows dedication if you take the time to educate yourself and look things up. One of the most annoying questions that people ask me is if I chose to be transgender and be a girl. And no, it wasn't a choice. I was just born this way. Oftentimes, guys are afraid of what their friends think, and it's like, no, who cares what your friends think? If you're attracted to me or any other trans girl, then pursue that relationship. Being trans doesn't dictate your sexuality. Transgender people can be straight, gay, bisexual, or any color of the rainbow. I'm still exploring my sexuality, and I'm not sure what label I identify as, but I would just say that I love people for who they are on the inside. Trans girls are not here to be your experiment. If you're interested in a trans girl, then make sure you are pursuing a relationship for the right reasons. Trans girls are just like any other girls. We don't want to be defined by the label of being trans because that's not who we are. There's so much more to our characters, and we want you to see that and love us for it. When being with a trans girl, it's not about what's between her legs, but rather what's between her ears and in her heart. So realize that and accept us for who we are.
It's the dramatic end to a competitive and controversial weekend for Mac Beggs. The 17-year-old Dallas area high school student won the title of champion in the girls' state wrestling competition Saturday. A mix of cheers and boos directed at the wrestler as he fell to his knees, appearing to soak in the win. Many in the audience feel Beggs has an unfair advantage on the road to victory. Beggs is a transgender athlete, born a girl, transitioning to become a boy. He takes testosterone injections to make that transition happen. Many believe that provides the young wrestler with an added competitive edge. His strength and agility are hard to miss on the mat.
So there's a big issue right now, right? And I think if he has been taking hormones or steroids, he should be wrestling boys.
That can't happen, though, according to the University Interscholastic League, which oversees public high school athletics. Current UIL rules state boys may not wrestle against girls and vice versa, and gender shall be determined based on a student's birth certificate. For Beggs, that means he's got no choice but to wrestle girls. Then there's the issue of the hormone therapy that would typically be disqualifying. Not in this case, says UIL Deputy Director Dr. Jamie Harrison.
The law is very, very specific that a student who is being administered performance-enhancing drugs by a physician cannot be made ineligible.
The UIL insists it's willing to review its existing laws to see if they need to be changed by legislators. For now, the state stands by this weekend's competition, calling it fair. Today, Beggs shares the gold with his peers.
I wouldn't be here today if it weren't for my teammates. That's honestly what the spotlight should have been on, is my teammates.
The young athlete wrestles with a new uncertainty. Next season, will he still face off with girls as a boy? Polo Sandoval, CNN, Cypress, Texas.
Or after two transgender teens swept events during last week's track and field state championship.
One of the other girls who competed and her mother say the pair had an unfair advantage and that it's time for the governing body of the high school athletics to change their rules. News 8's Amy Hudak tells us about the petition they started. Amy?
The rule for high school athletics is that the student can compete for the gender-specific sport they identify with. One parent who started a petition says she doesn't necessarily want to reverse the policy. She actually wants to add to it. Terry Miller and Andrea Yearwood smoked the competition at last week's state championships for track and field.
When you look at the competitions and they turn into a complete blowout, you realize that something is different.
Miller and Yearwood are both transgender. Born boys, they raced against the girls. Selena Sewell competed with them and says it's an unfair advantage.
I have no problem with them being a girl and wanting to be a girl. My issue is with CAC.
The CIAC says their policy follows state law. Teens can compete for the team they gender identify with. Sewell's mother, Bianca Stănescu, started a petition in Glastonbury, not to change the rule, but to add to it.
My solution is to come up something similar to NCAA. If they did complete a hormone therapy, and just like the Olympics require a waiting period, yes, at that point they should be allowed to compete as a female.
And if they don't complete hormone therapy?
They could run at the same time with the girls, but take the times and post them somewhere else. Inclusivity, and in this particular case, fairness, can both be maintained.
A second petition is also circulating in Plainville. Stănescu says she's invited the CIAC and the transgender community to sit down together, but hasn't heard back. The CIAC says it's tricky legal territory. In Connecticut, teens transitioning have to be at least 16 and meet specific requirements to undergo hormone therapy. Miller and Yearwood are just sophomores. It's unclear if they've started hormone therapy. Many in the community, including those petitioning against the CIAC, are praising Miller and Yearwood for their courage.
Andrea Yearwood actually stepped out at the New England Championship to give the spot to another girl.
The debate over transgender athletes is reigniting thanks to the Connecticut State Track Championship this past weekend. Terry Miller and Andrea Yearwood are both transgender high school sprinters, transitioning to female. They took home first and second place, respectively, in a girls' qualifying race for regionals. And our next guest failed to qualify for regionals by 2 spots, and she thinks if the competition were fair, she would be heading to the next race. That is why she is leading the charge to try and change the state's policy on high school transgender athletes. High school runner Selena Sewell joins us now. Selena, thanks for being with us.
Of course, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So you're friends with these 2 individuals, and you're proud of them, you say, for wanting to be themselves and true to themselves. But you have a problem with them running in the female matches?
Yes, it is unfair to have someone who is biologically a male run with the girls who have not undergone anything in terms of hormone therapy.
So what would you like to see the solution? I know there's 7 states that say they do have restrictions for this. Transgender athletes, they have to compete under their birth gender. Is that what you think would be fair?
I don't think that would be fair, because that would be discriminating against them.
Okay, so what would be fair to you?
I would think would be fair is to either implement the same policy that the NCAA and the International Olympic Committee have, or have them run as an exhibition type event.
And what do the Olympics do?
They require your hormone levels the hormone levels to be under a certain level.
How does this personally affect you?
It personally affects me because I missed out on qualifying for further meets and showing off what I can do in front of college coaches and furthering my career in track.
Have you thought about transferring schools?
No, because they're not in my school.
Oh, this is a state. Okay, so you're at the state level.
Yes.
And then you told our producers that you're missing regionals because of this. Explain that.
So the top 6 spots qualify for the New England meet, and I came in 8th place, and the 2 transgender athletes came 1 and 2. So if they weren't there, then my friend and I from another school would have been in those 2 spots and would have qualified.
Are you in a tough position because you have to go, you see these individuals, you compete against them?
Yes.
All right. Well, Selena, thank you. Go ahead. Sorry.
It's frustrating and in a way demoralizing when you're at the start line of a race and you know what the outcome of the race is before it even happens.